the gift of fire. The Galactic Council chamber was a cathedral of light and shadow. A hollowed moon turned into a throne for empires. Its vaulted ceiling shimmered with holographic constellations, entire spiral arms of the galaxy flickering overhead. Dozens of species filled the seats in a swirl of color, fur, scales, and plasma-wreathed forms, each speaking in low tones that buzzed like a hive. But today, all eyes turned toward one delegation, the humans. The Chiran emissary, a serpentine being of crystalline flesh and radiant tendrils, slithered forward to the central dais. Its voice resonated like chimes struck inside a cavern. "Humans of soul," it said with regal flourish. "The Council acknowledges your rise. In but 2 centuries, you've moved from fractured planetary wars to interstellar travel. You've proven promising." The word promising hung in the chamber like a dagger cloaked in silk. The Chiran extended a claw, and with it, a projection flickered into existence. Sleek rifles, brilliant warships, pulsar cannons, weaponry honed through 10 millennia of galactic war. "In recognition of your advancement," the emissary continued, "we offer you access to our armories. Pulse beam cannons, void shields, neutron lances, tools worthy of your new place among the stars. Weapons that will allow you to defend yourselves adequately." Applause rippled from other delegations. The Chiran's tail shimmered with smug certainty. The humans did not clap. The human silence. Ambassador Reyes, Earth's representative, sat back in her seat. She was a slender woman, hair streaked with gray at the temples, wearing a uniform stripped of unnecessary ornamentation. Unlike the radiant armor and shimmering gowns of other delegates, hers was plain, almost austere. For a long, deliberate moment, she said nothing. That silence spread through the chamber. Whispers died. Even the Erathani, beings of constant chatter, went quiet. Finally, Reyes leaned forward. Her voice was calm, but it cut through the silence like a scalpel. "Why would we downgrade?" The words landed like a detonation. The chamber erupted into a cacophony. Laughter, disbelief, even outrage. The Verlins swarmed in their seats, clicking mandibles in mocking rhythm. The crystalline Chiran emissary tilted its head, prisms refracting light in irritation. "Downgrade?" It echoed, incredulous. "You misunderstand. These are weapons that have secured empires for eons. They burn stars and unmake moons. What could humanity possibly possess that surpasses this?" Reyes smiled thinly. "That's what we'd like to know as well." The doubt. The humans had been a curiosity ever since they clawed their way into the stars. Too fast, too reckless. Their ships were crewed by galactic standards. Their technology self-developed with no guidance from ancient archives. And yet they moved with unnerving efficiency. They colonized harsh worlds other species avoided. They adapted to alien biomes that melted others' flesh. Their vessels, while unpolished, seemed to survive battles they shouldn't. The Council had assumed it was luck, tenacity, nothing more. But now that assumption cracked. The Chiran emissary narrowed its crystalline eyes. "You speak in arrogance. Your fleets are small, your reach limited. We offer you tools to raise you higher." Reyes tapped the table with one finger, steady and measured. "Let me ask, how long did it take your people to build your pulsar cannons?" The Chiran's tendrils flared. 1,000 cycles. "And your void shields?" 500. Reyes nodded. "Impressive. We built their equivalents in less than 70 years. Then abandoned them." The chamber froze. "Abandoned?" Someone from the Drath brood rasped. "For what?" Reyes met their eyes calmly. "Because we found something better. A demonstration." The silence that followed was different this time. Not disbelief, but unease. The Chiran emissary's tail twitched, crystalline spines rattling. "Empty words. Prove them." Reyes stood slowly. At a gesture, a small case was brought forward by a human aide. She placed it on the dais, unlocking it with a palm scan. Inside rested a weapon unlike any the Council had seen. It wasn't ornate, not elegant, not wrapped in glowing conduits like alien arms. It was compact, matte. Its surface seemed to drink the chamber's light rather than reflect it. Reyes lifted it carefully. "This," she said, "is a sidearm. One of billions." The Chiran hissed. "We know your projectile toys. Antiquated." She fired. The sound wasn't thunderous, just a muted thump. A bolt of invisible energy crossed the chamber in silence. It struck the demonstration target the Chiran had summoned earlier, a block of alloy designed to withstand the equivalent of a battleship barrage. The block did not melt. It did not shatter. It ceased to exist. A perfect sphere of absence remained where the material had once been, edges smooth and smoking faintly with unreality. The void within shimmered like a wound in physics itself. Gasps swept the chamber. Some delegates recoiled, their bodies folding in defense. Others pressed closer, fascinated. Reyes holstered the weapon as though it were nothing. "Why?" she repeated softly. "Would we downgrade?" Whispers in the chamber. The chamber dissolved into chaos. The Erythani emitted shrieks of alarm. The Verlin pounded their mandibles in agitation. Even the stoic Alnari recoiled, for eyes narrowing in suspicion. The Chiran emissary shuddered, crystalline body refracting fractured light like a storm. "This is impossible," it stammered. "No weapon erases matter so cleanly. Even singularity charges leave residue, distortion. What power source fuels such a thing?" Reyes tilted her head. "You're asking the wrong question." The Chiran seethed. "Then what is the right one?" She met its crystalline gaze. "Why did humanity develop this in silence, without sharing?" That question cut deeper than the weapon itself. The hidden truth. The answer wasn't offered. Not yet. Instead, Reyes stepped back. "You've watched us. You know how many wars we've fought among ourselves. How many times we nearly burned our own planet to ash. We have always lived with the shadow of extinction. Do you think we would enter the stars unprepared?" Her words settled into every mind present. They remembered human history. Brutal, violent, full of self-inflicted scars. A species that had tested nuclear fire on its own soil before even leaving its cradle. A species that survived ice ages, plagues, and global wars before it ever glimpsed another sun. A species that had always prepared for the worst enemy, itself. The delegates shifted uneasily. The gift of weapons no longer felt like charity. Felt like provocation. The Chiran emissary drew itself up, tendrils flaring defiantly. "If what you claim is true, then humanity has violated council law. No civilization is to develop weapons beyond sanctioned levels." Reyes smiled again, this time sharp, dangerous. "You misunderstand. We didn't develop them." The chamber stilled. "We discovered them," she finished. The dread. Those words sent ripples through the assembly. The Alnari muttered in low, guttural tones. The Verlin hissed warnings to their kin. Even the Erythani's endless voices faltered. Because if humanity had discovered such weapons, it meant something far worse. They had found relics. Forgotten arsenals. Ancient technologies buried in the bones of dead civilizations. And if humans were already wielding them so casually, then the balance of the galaxy was already broken. Reyes closed the case with a soft click, her expression unreadable. "Counselors," she said, "we thank you for your offer, but humanity has no need of your weapons. We've already learned that survival means building what others fear to imagine, and sometimes finding what others tried to erase." Her voice dropped to a whisper, heavy with implication. "And we remember everything." The chamber erupted into uproar again. But this time, beneath the anger and noise, there was something deeper. Fear. The price of fear. The chamber did not quiet for hours. What should have been a simple diplomatic gesture had unraveled into chaos. Delegates stormed out, others demanded sanctions, some shouted for immediate war. And at the heart of it all, Ambassador Reyes sat perfectly still, her hands folded, her expression unreadable. The Chiran emissary's voice cut through the din, crystalline body shimmering with fury. "Humanity has violated council doctrine. This cannot stand. They must surrender these weapons, every design, every artifact, into our custody." The Alnari joined, their deep voices rolling like thunder. If humanity refuses, they must be contained. We cannot allow an untested species to wield relics they cannot control. Dozens of others added their demands: containment, sanctions, quarantine, disarmament. Finally, the chamber's presiding arbiter, a vast being of radiant plasma bound in containment fields, raised its shimmering tendrils. The noise died. "Ambassador Reyes," it intoned, voice reverberating across every wall. "The Council requires an answer. Will humanity surrender these weapons to the Council for safekeeping?" The chamber leaned forward, every eye, every sensor, every thought focused on the lone human. Reyes stood slowly, her shadow stretched long across the dais, cast by the pulsing holographic stars above. She looked around the chamber, not at the counselors, but at the stars, and she said, "No." The Council's outrage. The chamber detonated into fury. The Verlin shrieked with clicking mandibles, spitting venom that hissed on the stone floor. The Chiron slammed its crystalline tail against the dais, shards fracturing in outrage. Even the normally aloof Erathane screamed in 1,000 overlapping voices, filling the air with static madness. The Arbiter pulsed brighter, waves of plasma lashing at its containment field. "You dare defy the Council? This body has maintained peace for 10,000 years. Do you mean to ignite a war?" Reyes did not flinch. "No, humanity does not seek war. But we will not hand over the very tools that ensure our survival. You've burned empires to cinders with your peace. You've dictated who may rise and who must fall. And when you offer us weapons," she smiled coldly, "they're not gifts, they're shackles." Her words hit like shrapnel. Every empire present felt the sting, for every one of them knew it was true. The Council's weapons were not equalizers, they were leashes, designed not to empower, but to control. The Chiron emissary hissed, voice sharp as crystal shards. "Then you admit it. Humanity seeks to challenge the balance. You mean to rise above the Council." Reyes's gaze turned like steel. "We don't need to rise above. We only need to stop bowing." A dangerous vote. That night, the Council voted. Delegates screamed in their private chambers, whispered through encrypted channels, threatened each other in the shadows. When dawn broke over the artificial sky of the chamber, the Arbiter announced the result. By a majority vote, it thundered. "The Council declares humanity a rogue civilization. Their weapons must be seized, their fleets dismantled, their colonies placed under protection of the Council Armada." "Protection," Reyes murmured. The word was acid in her mouth. She did not speak as the decision was read. She did not protest, did not argue. She only stood, bowed once, and walked out of the chamber without looking back. The galaxy had declared humanity its enemy. The gathering storm. Across human space, colonies went dark. Council fleets blockaded trade routes, seized outposts, and demanded surrender of research stations. Alien soldiers landed on frontier worlds under banners of peacekeeping, but they found no surrender. On Mars, militia units armed with obsolete railguns destroyed an entire Chiron escort wing before it reached orbit. On Europa, human engineers turned a mining laser into a planetary defense grid that gutted a Verlin carrier. On Proxima B, a single human ship disappeared into slipspace, then emerged behind a blockade fleet, annihilating its flagship before vanishing again. Every time, the pattern repeated. The Council came with numbers, with pride, with millennia of doctrine. And every time, humanity responded with something the galaxy had never seen: precision, ruthlessness, and weapons that defied logic. The worst part wasn't their power. It was their restraint. Humans didn't fight to conquer. They fought to teach. Every strike was deliberate, every victory measured, every survival a lesson carved into the minds of those who thought them weak. The message was clear: do not mistake us for children. Do not mistake us for prey. The Council Armada. Desperate, the Council summoned its greatest weapon. The Armada. A fleet of 100,000 ships, gathered from every empire, bristling with the finest weapons of 10,000 years. It descended on Sol, blacking out the stars. From orbit, Earth looked fragile, blue, green, and small beneath the shadow of annihilation. The Arbiter itself led the fleet, its radiant plasma body housed in a colossal vessel forged in the heart of a dying sun. Humans of soul, its voice boomed across every channel. This is your final chance. Lay down your arms. Surrender your forbidden technology. Join the Council as loyal subjects or be erased. The response came from a single transmission. Ambassador Reyes's face flickered onto every screen. She stood against a backdrop not of a war room, but of Earth itself, oceans, forests, and storm-swirled skies behind her. You speak of erasing us, she said softly. But you don't understand. We've erased ourselves 100 times already, through famine, through plague, through war. And every time we came back stronger. We don't fear extinction. She paused. The chamber of stars behind her darkened. You should. The reveal. The void shimmered. For centuries, the Council had assumed humanity's fleets were small, scattered, primitive. But now the shadows broke. Dozens of ships emerged from stealth fields that bent light itself. They weren't massive like Council dreadnoughts. They weren't ornate. They were lean, predatory, silent. Their hulls were etched with names. Millions of them, the dead of Earth's wars memorialized in steel. Each ship radiated the same strange distortion as the sidearm Reyes had shown. Weapons that did not fire energy or matter, but absence itself. The Council Armada locked weapons. Thousands of targeting beams illuminated human vessels. Then, all at once, every targeting system failed. Screens went black. Engines sputtered. The Armada, vast and terrible, drifted powerless. And in that silence, every soldier, every commander, every alien in the fleet heard the same voice. Not from comms. From inside. You wanted us disarmed. You wanted us contained. But what you call weapons, we call memory. And memory cannot be taken. Across the Armada, panic spread. Some ships fled. Others tried to fire blind. None succeeded. Human ships did not fire. They simply hovered, silent, their presence suffocating. Reyes's voice returned, calm as stone. We don't seek your destruction, only your understanding. If you force war upon us, we will end it. If you offer chains, we will break them. If you bring fire, her eyes hardened. Then you'll see why we stopped calling it fire. Aftermath. The Armada retreated. Not in defeat, but in terror. The Council had seen something it could not comprehend, something it could not match, something it could not control. In the days that followed, debates raged. Some called for renewed war. Others demanded peace at any cost. But beneath every argument, one truth simmered. Humanity could not be contained. And humanity had no interest in ruling. They had only one interest: survival on their own terms. Epilogue. Years later, on a quiet world at the edge of the spiral arm, a Chiran scholar asked a human traveler the question that haunted every empire. What was it, really? The weapon that erased matter, the fleet that silenced our armada. Was it truly your invention? The human smiled faintly. Partly. We built on what we found. We made it ours. The scholar pressed. And why show it to us now? The human's gaze darkened, voice soft as a whisper. Because we wanted you to stop underestimating us. Because sometimes, the only way to survive is to remind predators why prey learned to bare its teeth. And with that, humanity walked back into the stars, leaving the galaxy forever changed.